The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. I'm your host, Brett, and in today's episode, I am just going to be discussing and talking like a, standard radio show that would be dedicated to Doctor Who if we were on the radio airwaves. Yes, this is the pulse of the Doctor Who fandom, or what is currently being talked about within the world of Doctor Who. As I was preparing many future podcasts, one of the things that I noticed on Twitter on the 6th of September was the Doctor trending, Chibnall trending, Moffat trending, and Big Finish trending. And the reason why I think this is interesting is because I have my location set up to be in Japan, because I do not want to hear the latest, click rage news stories surrounding me in the country or whatnot. I would rather just see a whole bunch of characters that I can't read. But because of all the people that I do follow, which happen to be in the Doctor Who universe, that kind of basically makes more sense of why I saw those things. So I'm just going to just start off with the first thing that I saw that was trending, which was Chibnall. Now, when I read a research into why Chibnall was trending regarding all the people that I follow and the Doctor Who universe, in which my Twitter has just generally, become almost algorithmed or something like that. I noticed one thing that was going on, and that is that I guess a group of Doctor Who fans on TikTok, which I will say I'm never going to get on that. I only saw it because it was posted on on Twitter. And I guess a couple of Doctor Who fans, some RTD fans, posted a image of Chibnall being ceremoniously, passed around, put into a fireplace, then lit on fire. And, according to what they said, we put you to rest. Now, that is a kind of an interesting thing. Who knows if anybody took offense? I'm pretty sure some people took offense to that. And I think that's ridiculous personally. You can be offended by whatever you'd like to, but that is, people's opinions, and it is okay. Now, it would be one thing to call for, the death of somebody, but for fans to not being a fan of a particular era or showrunner or doctor, I don't think that is toxic. It is one of those things where people have their likes and dislikes, and it is okay to like and dislike other things. But I digress. So I think that is what caused this whole Chibnall tagline to trend. So we have a couple people, and I'm just going to read what they say and kind of react to it. Again, taking the pulse of what is going on within the fandom of Doctor Who. Again, my background is sports talk radio. I love talking about things, the current things, and reacting to them. And I think this would be a really fun thing to do. So one user on Twitter says that Chibnall got hate, so it's okay for us to be as hateful towards his replacement. Interesting. So, and that is somebody who's like quoting kind of what is going on, because the post that somebody put, of this TikTok, I'm not sure if it's any of the people that were doing it, but it says RTD gets too much hate, sad face. Too many people say the giggle is a bad episode, sad face. The average TikTok about Chris Chibnall, and it showed Chris Chibnall his image being burned. Now, RTD getting too much hate. I think criticism of whatever you would like to criticize is perfectly fine. It is not hate. Now, when, you're slinging, not warranted words about certain things, criticizing the work, criticizing the writing, criticizing the direction, I think is perfectly fine. And I don't think that is hate. I think that is a fan talking about fan things. And I think that personally is okay, in my opinion. I actually am all aboard both people getting criticized. And if you listen back to probably, what was it, 2017-ish Dr. Alhambra podcast, you will hear myself, Liam, and Humphrey talking about and complaining about Stephen Moffat and the struggles that we had and how excited we were to move on because his storytelling just kind of started wearing on us. More Liam, but it did wear on us all. And we were looking for a brand new start, which was Chris Chibnall. And then, of course, you have the whole, sorry, Moffat, all is forgiven type of a comical situation. There's still issues that we do have with Moffat. There's still issues that we have with Chibnall. There's issues that we have with RTD Part 2. I think RTD Part 1 was generally pretty good. I find it funny that one of the episodes that was taken off air was, Fear Her, which is a horrible episode. But it wasn't taken off air because it was horrible. It was taken off air because of the voiceover person, I guess, did something. I don't know. Did not look into it. I'm not going to report on that. But something happened regarding that. So they took it down off of Disney Plus and I think off of the iPlayer. And then I think they're going to revoice over it, which I think is, I guess, okay but I don't like rewriting history. And so and that's where I get with physical media is, you cannot rewrite the physical media regardless of, what a horrible person does or what a horrible corporation does. So I think that's quite interesting. I think Chibnall was perfectly, Woman Who Fell to Earth was fine. I think it slowly started going downhill from there. Series 11, not good. Series 12, I thought Spyfall Part 1 was good. Of course, I will always a fan of Kerblam, but I think everything just was. And then when you got into the lore, when you started getting into the whole messiness, and this is where I both of them, RTD and Chibnall, basically I'm struggling with the new series of the show and why I'm kind of more for classic and also Big Finish stuff from the classic Doctors is because it is the canon and continuity that I care about. I was listening to the Lost Stories Death World just barely recently, getting ready to do a review and discussion on that audio. And I think it's quite interesting because the amount of dedication and love you can tell that was done by John Dorney as he was, I think possibly, I haven't listened to special features yet, but probably, taking a small idea that was initially the three doctors. William Hartnell got sick, and so they had to make some adjustments. And I think this was the original plot storyline. I will say I do think I like the three doctors more than Death World, but I think both of them have a place. But you can tell the love and care that was taken for Death World. And I think for me personally, I don't feel as though the same love and care has been taken care of by Chibnall. I would also say Moffat near the very end of his run, and also RTD Part 2. I think RTD Part 1 had lots of love and care. I think RTD Part 2 has, and I hate saying this, has an agenda. And I just think Chris Chibnall was just very inconsistent. And I don't think he listened to the fans. And I will say, unlike what this said, it says RTD gets too much hate for, and too many people say The Giggle is a bad episode. I do think The Giggle is a pretty bad episode. I think there could have been so many different things that you could have done with the Celestial Toymaker. I think the Celestial Toymaker having power outside of his realm, I find odd. I mean, are we going to find out that the Doctor has been in the Celestial Toymaker's realm forever? And actually, there's never been any other Doctor. It's only been one, the first Doctor, William Hartnell, and all the other ones are, just the Toymaker just playing around. I mean, I do love the Peter Cushing theory about how Peter Cushing Doctor was the Celestial Toymaker making the Doctor replay part of his previous adventures in a different, without any foreknowledge of, things. I like that theory, but I think that there's struggles with all of those. And granted, I will say there is a discontinuity guide. There is the whole Running Through Corridors series that is going on. The classic series is not perfect, and a lot of people were just doing it for a paycheck. But I think what we got in the Wilderness years is the true fans that also wanted to make a buck too, but the true fans wanted to see certain stories, certain things continue on. And I think that is, I'm not saying that RTD is not a true fan. I just don't think that he has the same love that he did, in the 90s as well as in 2005. I think things have changed. Personally, that is my opinion. Some people, according to this, says that they're not sure that the doctor. So they use a screenshot from the final episode of the most recent series with the 15th Doctor, where it showed Sarah and the 4th Doctor on a screen from the Pyramids of Mars, and somebody just said, "You jest, but I'm not sure RTD knows this," and the caption says, "Who were they? That woman and the man with the hair." Interesting. I doubt that. I would actually honestly say that I would be more believe that Chibnall didn't know that, kind of, but I'm not. I doubt either one of those is correct. Somebody said within another, again, tweeting or something like that, quote tweeting the TikTok video, says that perhaps the real takeaway should be not about RTD, Chibnall, or fans of each, but the Doctor Who fans in general are miserable. I disagree. I think, again, to be a fan of something requires passion. And it's not that they're miserable. I think you have a passionate base, and if things are going in a direction you don't agree with, well, you're going to be vocal. We have more means of, podcasting, YouTube channels, blogs, or whatnot, compared to obviously 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then, of course, the 2000s. But I feel as though at the same time, when you watch some of the classic episodes and they do a review of I think it's called the Doctor in Action, first Doctor in Action, second Doctor in Action, and they pull the archives of the reactions of the newspapers, the Mirror, the whatever, the Sun, and all these people that were reviewing the show in the day. It was, check these out. Check out that somebody might have uploaded them on a YouTube channel or something like that, but check out the Doctor in Action stuff. Because if you think that everybody fully loved, or the writers, the people that wrote bylines in newspapers were all lovey-dovey about every single era, I would say that fandom has always been toxic. I just feel as though there's more people with the capability of going onto Amazon, picking up a $30 XLR, not XLR, I would say USB microphone. They have a computer, they're using their webcam or something like that, and to be able to just do their own YouTube or podcast. And I think that is where we're currently at. I think there's always been issues. One of my favorite things about looking back at the Doctor Who magazines from the 90s every so often is that it was brought to you by Marvel, where I feel as though there was a little bit more criticism welcome compared to now, as it's being run more or less from the BBC, where we can't really fully criticize as I think some people would like to. But I do think that, fans are not miserable. It is a passionate fandom. And here's an interesting thing. I think with the creation of AI, which is just a language, thing. Maybe it's alive. Who knows? Hopefully not. I mean, unless it's listening to me, then I'm very happy birthday. You know, look forward to meeting you. Not with any weapons of mass destruction or something like that. Just to shake hands and say hi and thank you for the copy machine and all the other great things that you've done to me in IRL. So, but yeah, besides that safety message, I feel as though that AI is going to be able to give, and here's the scary thing with show directors and creators that are not listening to the fans. And I think this is an interesting thing between Big Finish and the BBC is the BBC can just still, dig in their heels. This is the show we're going to make. We don't care if you hate it. We don't care if the numbers drop off. We're still going to be making this because eventually you're going to come around to it. And I think Big Finish can't do that. The main reason why is they're not publicly funded. They get their money from subscriptions from people pre-ordering all of their products. And so they have to be a little bit more open to fan reception, similarly to how they have been open to listening to the fan reception of the website and the most recent app. And regardless of how hard or easy it has been, I feel as though, Big Finish, it has more of a pulse of what the fans would like compared to what the RTD / Chris Chibnall / Stephen Moffat / future person, whatever, and the BBC are willing to do. Because at the end of the day, they're not, you could almost say maybe they're not making the show for the fans, they're making it for themselves, and they're just hoping that the fans go along for the ride. Whereas Big Finish is just like, hey, we need to have the pulse of what people want so that we can continue to exist and make more money and also be creative. But the AI aspect of everything is now fans can just make their own content and canonize it themselves. They could make their own short story, they could make their own audio, and it be canon. And possibly, and here's the interesting thing, because you do have like the whole Tumblr versus fanfic, or fanfic is on Tumblr, but you have the whole, some of those people might be more dedicated to honoring the legacy of the show compared to currently what is being happening, at least on the BBC. Again, see my previous podcast about how I've discussed the Timeless Child and also the By Regeneration. Not a fan of either one of those. And that's why I'm more pro Big Finish until some of that gets in there. Hopefully Big Finish, if they do get that, will explain it better than it currently has been explained, because I don't think it really has been explained. But yeah, I think AI and being able to, maybe do videos and stuff like that, animated stuff on AI, I think that actually could really contend with the BBC, Big Finish, others things for continuity and canon. I know that, a lot of people wouldn't be able to make money off of it, but I think where there's a will, there's a way. And I could feel that something like that could happen. Then you have the whole inevitability of it gets super big and then they get arrogant and then they just start, sloppy. But again, I think the fans are what should be in control of the show. The majority of the fans, not the minority of the fans. Majority of the fans, this is what they like. This is what they want. If you don't want to jump on board, by all means, stay off the boat. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Somebody said, I really think RTD should be less dismissive of honest criticism and actively use it to do better. Chris Chibnall clearly took criticism of Series 11 on board and basically remade Ragnarok, or whatever that's called, a bunch of times, except much better, especially with regards to the big epic villains. So this person says that he took Razurk or whatever and improved the villains by having a Shad, the Cyber Zealot, the, bedazzled villains, and whatnot. I disagree. I was never a fan of the I was a fan of the Cyber Zealot the first time we saw him. I feel as though it wore on me, and could have done without. The whole Atropos time thing, the timeless child, I just did not work for me. Yeah. Some people really thought that, that's a really good point. It could be, I don't know. I think series 12 was not, I actually, if I were to say which one was the better series, I'd say series 11 than series 12. And the main reason why is I think the Timeless Child broke Doctor Who in series 12. Big Finish could come to the rescue and make it work. But then you'd have to have RTD not, do his own thing and continue on, with doing whatever he wanted. Somebody said regarding the Chris Chibnall torching. Are they wearing a Bad Wolf shirt? Anyway, it says, okay, now that I've seen this, yeah, it's just a little bit unhinged. But I still don't think the appropriate way to approach things is but Chibnall, but RTD. He gets more hate. No, he gets more hate. Okay, I don't care. Whatever. That was useless. Anyway, I'm gonna just end that for right now. I think it's a very interesting discussion. Actually, let's see. This is said. It's sad to say, but Doctor Who is on the way out, according to this one person on Twitter, who does have a couple people like and whatever. Chibnall killed the show. RTD could have come back and fixed the damage, and put the ship back on course, but he didn't. With season 26 Classic Who, at least we ought to. Let's see. At least went out on a high in terms of quality. Well, maybe. New Who is going out with a whimper. And I think that it just depends on where you're focused on. I think the Seventh Doctor era is probably perhaps one of the weaker eras of the classic show. And so I could make an argument, and I don't have the time, and I've not put any work into it, but I could make the argument that season 12 of the classic series, 26 of the classic series kind of went out with a whimper. But you could also say that with maybe the last series of Tom Baker. Or you could say that things were a mess and things were whimpering out of control with Trial of the Time Lord. I think it's all about perspective, and I think it's all about what you like and what you don't like. Everybody is equal to have their opinions. They're allowed, obviously, to like what they like and hate what they hate. And I think that's where I'm going to just leave that right there. But I think that's kind of an interesting discussion regarding Chris Chibnall. What are your thoughts? Again, email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. So with that, I'm going to now switch over to the Moffat trends, as everybody was talking about this. And the interesting thing about Moffat, so one of the things that I noticed, somebody put together a compilation or wrote down a quote that Moffat had said at a Comic-Con at one point in time revolving around the Impossible Girl. Now, I read through this and I agree and I don't agree because, again, we had the Impossible Girl, the special girl, the Impossible Girl, which was Amy Pond. We had Clara, who was the Impossible Girl. We had Bill, who was just there to have fun. And then she died. And then you have the Impossible Girl, which is Ruby Sunday. And then you have the, damp, fart that was the results of Ruby Sunday, which I just don't make sense to me, but whatever. This is what Moffat said about the Impossible Girl arc at a Comic-Con one time. And he says, the idea of the Impossible Girl is because that name is no way applies to her properly. The Doctor thinks she's impossible and then discovers she's a perfectly real person, a perfectly ordinary person. His disposition is to treat people like puzzles, to be deconstructed. And what he learns in dealing with Clara is he was dealing with a real human being. And if he'd picked up on that earlier, they would have been better friends quicker. So that's what the Impossible Girl is. It doesn't exist. She's just Clara Oswald. And I disagree with that. I saw Stephen Moffat's the one that made the Impossible Girl Clara Oswald story arc. And that's well and fine. I disagree with that setup of the Impossible Girl. I think the Impossible Girl has been set up as a thing that was with Amy. You could even take it back to River. How did River know the doctor's name? That's impossible. Then you have Amy Pond, who is this Impossible Girl who, has this crack. She has this belief. She has this faith in the doctor and whatnot, which is fantastic. You have Clara, who is a Dalek at one point in time. Then you have her as, the school marm or whatever in the Victorian age. And then you have her in that one episode with the shard I can't think of, but I feel as though the Impossible Girl is something that the doctor is just trying to figure out, because her being there makes absolutely no sense. And I think that's where I struggle with Ruby Sunday and what they gave us at the very end of season 1, series 14, season 40, whatever you'd like to call it. The reason why I do that is I love the idea of it kind of being like a comic book type of a situation where it's volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. And then I guess with the TV movie, it's been encompassed into volume 1, but then it's almost like 1A, or maybe, an intermission between the two, connecting but not. Anyway, I digress. I find I just disagree with that. I think that Clara and Amy and Ruby are all, they don't make sense. There's a mystery about them. The doctor, maybe could be a little bit more open. And I do think that this is right. He's trying to treat people like puzzles, but then why wouldn't he, why wouldn't he act like that with Rory? And that's, why would he not act like that with, he already knew what Jack was, and he kept him at arm's length. Why didn't he do that with Bill? Why not, he treat her like a mystery? Because she was not mysterious. She was just somebody who came in one day and then looked at the TARDIS and said, "Oh, it looks like a kitchen," which I just hate that line. That would be mysterious. Why are you calling the interior of my TARDIS a kitchen? Like, what the heck, lady? That's what I would be saying. But again, that's just my opinion. He's the one that created this. This is what he said. But I just strongly disagree revolving around the Impossible Girl discussion. I think the Impossible Girl, and again, that's why Ruby Sunday, I think for me, just does not work. One of the things that I did like, though, as Moffat was trending, is people were talking about their favorite Moffat era story that wasn't written by Stephen Moffat. And I find that fascinating. The main reason why is, somebody put up, The Girl Who Waited is one. They have a screenshot of Vincent of the Doctor, which, people like for some reason. And then they have which one is that one? They have a 12th Doctor one. Let's see. It's the one with where they're on the space and it looks like it's the zombie people or something like that. Oxygen. Yeah. I did not care about Oxygen. So for me, my favorite Stephen Moffat, dare I say, the best Stephen Moffat episodes during the Stephen Moffat era that were not written by Stephen Moffat. And because I have a list, and we need to have lists. Lists are important. Here goes. Number 5 on my list is Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Hello, Chris Chibnall. That was a fantastic episode. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I've never had so much fun with that before. Again, anytime you can throw in dinosaurs and you have a spaceship and just yes. Absolutely fantastic job. Written by Chris Chibnall, formerly of the previous discussion chapter. But anyway, number 4. And this goes back to early on in series 5. And this is episode number 11, The Lodger, written by Gareth Roberts. And I've heard from people not liking it because it was part of a Doctor Who magazine comic strip that was done by Gareth. I'm not sure if what Gareth Roberts did. I'm going to guess if he did both of them. But I thought The Lodger was fun. So number 4 on my list is The Lodger. Yes. Number 3. I mean, some would say I should have The Doctor's Wife on there. But anybody who's listened to the podcast knows that no. I'm going to go with one that I feel as though a lot of people who have listened to the podcast should see coming. But just like, I think this one is also written by the person who did The Doctor's Wife. And let me just find it just real quickly because I just changed the screen by accident. And that is it Mark Gatiss? Yes. It's Sleep No More. I love Sleep No More. I love the found footage stuff. Mark Gatiss wrote that one. I think that is a super strong episode. I love that it leaves you with a, what's going on? Not quite sure. Sleep No More, number 3. Number 2 and number 1 are written by the same person. And they both take place in series 8, one right after another. I know Liam would say it's Kill the Moon. No, it's not, Liam. I know it. Yeah, it's up there on your list, but no, it is not Kill the Moon. That is number 2 on my list, written by Jamie Matheson, is Mummy on the Orient Express. Fantastic episode of Doctor Who. Fantastic. 12th Doctor. No, sorry, not. Yeah, 12th Doctor. 12th Doctor. Just hitting on all cylinders. Fantastic. And number 1, the best non-written Moffat episode during the Moffat era is Flatline. Yes, also written by Jamie Matheson. So I really appreciated that when I came across that on Twitter, people sharing their favorite episodes of the Moffat era. Also, a lot of people were talking about how Stephen Moffat, what was it? I would be super proud of some of the Big Finish audios, especially one of the short trips one called Regeneration Impossible, written by Alfie Shaw. It says, I'd highly recommend it if you're a big Moffat era fan. Sure, it's not the OG actors, meaning it's not Capaldi and Matt Smith, but it is easy to forget that once you get into the storyline. So I'm going to guess that that's probably read by... it is. It's read by Jacob Dudman, who does do a very good Matt Smith and does a serviceable Peter Capaldi. So yeah, all right. That's not a huge, it probably was trending for other reasons, but I'm going to just move on and I'm going to get to Big Finish because I'm curious why Big Finish was trending. I have not read many of these, so this is going to be new to me. So currently, and this is the most recent one, this was not why it was trending, but we do have the Joe Martin's first appearance for Big Finish for the Once and Future, the final act. I do like the cover art, which has the young war doctor. We have, is it Queen Victoria? Is that who that is? We have Bernice Summerfield, and then we have a Vord. So that's going to be great. And here is, as I was trying to figure out why it was trending. And I think a lot of it has to do with the live Eighth Doctor, the stuff of Legends, which will be fantastic. And some people are asking and kind of demanding if this could, this show could go on the road. I don't think they can because, I think Paul McGann is busy and it would, I think, probably be costly. But I know I saw at one point in time somebody discussing the possibilities of taking that to Australia for the stuff of Legends. This right here, must be some sort of Zagreus. Why is Zagreus trending? Well, at least multiple things. This, I think, is very interesting. So, previously discussed by myself and Liam, that goth opera was a one and done into the novel adaptations, and it was discussed somewhere that it was only a pet project by, I think, Scott Hancock as a, please do this or whatnot on my way out as working for Big Finish, because I'm moving on to bigger and better new things with the BBC and New Who. But I saw this and it says, goth opera did well enough for Briggs to openly say Big Finish is looking at further novel adaptions, ! Goth opera was amazing and I'm glad it got its recognition, the recognition it deserves. So this, I guess, and then there's a screenshot of something that came from, I think, a Vortex magazine, or maybe this is from a Doctor Who magazine. It doesn't say, but it says, brilliant books. It says, I want to thank you all so much for, okay, so I think this is Vortex. I wanted to thank you all so much for the brilliant adaptation of goth opera from book to audio. I really hope that it sold well and there could perhaps be a little more life in the novel adaptation range yet. The Dying Days had such a limited print run, and it would be the perfect way to mark the 30 years of Paul McGann as the Doctor in 2026. Oh, interesting. So Nick Briggs replied through the Vortex, we are already talking about further novel dramatizations. They're a bit of a slow burn on sales, but given that some of them have done well after a long period of time, we're now revisiting them in a limited way. Goth opera has been popular, perhaps not surprisingly, since Paul Cornell's book is a classic. That is a fantastic statement right there. I would love if they would adapt a lot of. I think the struggle with some of the early novel adaptations is they were doing the New Adventure range, the Seventh Doctor Virgin novelizations. I think they would be. I think they should look into the Missing Adventures, which again do take place between, this place and that place, and again, continuity and canon were at the focus of them. Some people continued on with this and responded, I wonder if the range will stick with the Virgin novelizations or the Virgin Missing Adventures. Oh, okay, cool. Me and him are on in sync with this. Or if it will dip into the Eighth Doctor Adventures or the PDAs. What is the PDAs? My experience with all four is really non-existent, so I'm happy to hear everyone's suggestion for what would make good adaptations. So somebody said Alien Bodies. I've heard that one is fantastic. Somebody wants a lot of the Eighth Doctor Adventures to be done. Yeah. And then again, just like myself, somebody says, fantastic news. I'm limiting the ranges to the Fourth Doctor and Seventh Doctors initially was a mistake. I agree. Oh, so them limiting the ranges to the Fourth and Seventh Doctors initially was a mistake. Agreed. I absolutely agreed. And I think that I really like the Fifth Doctor one, which is also a Sixth Doctor one, I believe. I can't remember. And I'm blinking on the title. But yes. Oh, Cold Fusion. Okay, my brain. Thank you, brain. Some people would like to have Grant come back as being a partner. Sure. I think, and then some people are saying, Eye of the Giant, State of Change, and Shadow of Wang Chiang would be great. Dark Paths, Millennial Rights, which is a 6 Doctor story, Burning Heart. Lungbarrow, So Vile a Sin, or The Dying Days is what the trend is. So I think that I really like that discussion right there. I think that there is so much that could happen because you don't have to reinvent the wheel, as I said on a previous podcast. All you have to do is pick the right story. And I think goth opera is the right story. And I'm very excited for the future, and I will be picking up them if the novel adaptation. I have every single novel adaptation so far, and I look forward to more. Just, putting a plug in Big Finish. So with that, I'm just going to go to one last Twitter thing, and that is The Doctor. And actually, I don't think I even need to discuss this. Liam's guy on Twitter said Matt Smith is one of the best actors when it comes to showing the nuances of the Doctor, and I will die on that hill. Okay. I don't know why the Doctor was trending, but he was, and let's see. Here's an interesting one. So it says Russell T Davies must be aware of some of the complaints about the amount of emotion that the 15th Doctor shows. He said in SFX magazine that there is going to be more of it, and good luck for you if you don't like it. So this all revolves around the 15th Doctor crying in basically every single episode. And some people are saying in this thread that, I like that the Doctor's crying. I think, stuff happens. The Doctor's an emotional person. But I think the critique is he's never cried consistently in every single episode, where it seems to have been an issue throughout all of series 1, season 14, whatever. But yeah. Oh, and we got Dr. Doom. All right. Well, I guess with that, I'm going to conclude this podcast. Thanks again for downloading and listening. I do appreciate it. Please email the show at alhambrapodcast@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. And actually, let me just check. I'm doing this live. I'm just going to check the email to see if we've got any new listener mail as I do this live, as I'm essentially kind of almost doing this live. Let's see. Nope, do not. That's a shame. Anyway, like the video if you're listening to it on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, whatever pod directory, whatever pod snatcher that you use. And until next time, I will see you in time.
You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.